rub the
Oh,
score.
that bloody woman again. She
She's
freaks
back.
me out
She's
every
back.
single time. I'm not prepared for her. Ladies and
No,
gentlemen,
she's new,
welcome.
isn't she?
She's new. This is like the new intro to the podcast and everyone's Zoom meeting on the whole planet. I wonder if you can get different ones, maybe get an Indian guy or, South African or something. Like how you change your GPS one or an Aussie one. Oi, the meeting started, mate. It's being
Oh,
recorded.
dickhead. Dickhead,
Oi,
meeting's bloody
dickhead.
started. Put your beer down.
Put your beer down.
Put some pants on. The meeting started.
Pants are optional. It's the best. I'm actually wearing
Okay,
pants
sorry.
today. It's cold though. It's not like Thailand. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Blokes podcast. Ryan Hassan from the Centre for Healing here, joined as always by Nick Sutherland from Myndfit. Nico, how are you today, mate? Sipping on your tea?
I feel like I want to sipping on my tea. I feel like I want to bust into song today. It's like I don't know why.
Really?
It's I think it's partly our the guest that we've got on today. I'm very excited to spend time with this beautiful, amazing human being. I had a good night's sleep. Had a great night's sleep actually.
Good job.
I think we should do a podcast on sleep. I
Okay.
think we should do an episode on sleep, and we'll find a sleep specialist to bring on as a guest and interview.
Yeah,
Because
I think I
I
know.
mean,
I have.
our guest is probably lacking in sleep at the moment.
Yeah, well, let's
Yeah.
introduce the wonderful Zack, the new father, the former client of yours. Like, give us the listeners a rundown of who Zack is, Nico.
Well, Zack was born in 1982 at the no, I don't know when he was born. Yeah, so Zack Zack came to me. Was it an autoimmune disease, Zack? Is that what we could call
Yeah,
it, or what's? Yeah.
yeah, it's an autoimmune
So
disease.
he's yeah. So his joints in his legs and that kept swelling for no apparent reason. Is a chippy, so working full time, loving life, footy, all that sort of stuff as young men wants to do. Us old blokes can't do that anymore, Hass. Golf's more our sport, a bit more
Speak for
gentle on the
yourself,
body.
old blokes. That's just go a bit easy. I'm not in the same category as you.
Spiritually, maybe you are. Maybe you're an old soul. Yeah, and then yeah, the autoimmune happened, and so Zach's physical health declined, and then his mental health sort of started to follow suit. I think is a good way that we can put it. And so he came in, and yeah, we ended up doing a 12-month program, and got him back on his feet, literally, and um, mentally and physically. And yeah, got back to work, went back to and started being a chippy again. And then the universe was like, all right, we've put you through the test. Now let's see if you've learned the lesson. And bang, into cancer into the equation. So yeah, that was probably a jolt to everyone's system. And we met the beautiful little Hunter, not, a couple of minutes before we teed off today, and yeah, he was sort of a Hail Mary. He was all right. Well, we've got a week until I start chemo. Let's hop on the good foot and do the bad thing and see what happens. And yeah, luckily Hunter was like just in the waiting room. He's like, yep, here I am. And it was all meant to be. And so Zach's been through his chemo, cancer free, but he had to get his whole shin bone taken out. So I think the tibia or was it the tibia or the fibia, Zach?
I had both removed. So they had to
There you
take
go.
out my shin bone with the cancer, and then they'd take out
Yeah,
my fibia to support the donor bone
there you go.
and put
So
it next to
they've
it to
plumbed in his arteries into this donor bone to try and grow this donor bone in place, and
Oh, wow.
it's real weird. But we'll let Zach obviously tell his story. But yeah, and Zach's been also gone from being a chippy to want to get into this line of work now, obviously with his experience of life and coming through. And I've told Zach before that just watching him mentally come through this in the way that there's this beautiful story that I'll tell later that always just sort of comes to mind, and I think it just reflects really well who Zack is and the way that he's constructed his reality, his mindset. So I thought he'd be a great guest to have on and to share his story for some listeners out there who may have experienced some adversity. So
I
yeah,
think,
welcome, Zack.
yeah, welcome, Zack. I think this is a great opportunity to talk about. There's a lot to unpack here, mate, with your story, with what Nick just said.
Yeah.
But there's, I'd love to, explore how we can, stay positive or keep in a good mental space when we go through these kind of physical adversities. And it sounds like you've had quite a few. Before I jump back to sort of the start and the autoimmune disease, because I'm really interested in that, how long ago did you have the operation on your leg? Is this a recent thing?
I had the operation August last year, and so did that, and then a mop-up treatment for a month or two, and then that put me in hospital. So I had to pull the pin on chemotherapy because I didn't know if I'd get through that. So, and then I just stuck with my Chinese medicine, and then my leg's still struggling to mend. So the bone has to grow over the donor bone, and had to reoperate again in April this year. So they've taken bone out of my ankle now and put it up the top. So I got my best chance of walking again. So
yeah, okay,
yeah, that's where I'm at the moment.
Right, and how's that taken so far? Do you know yet, or it takes a bit more time to assess that?
Takes time. I've just had a scan 2 weeks ago, and they see some sort of movement, like a mil or two, but they're not quite. They're looking with hoping eyes, they said. So I don't leave a stone unturned. So I can live with what I'm doing. I'm doing rehab every day, and medicine, and just doing everything I can, visualization, just doing everything I can to get a chance to walk with my son again. So
yeah, unreal, mate. And put being a new dad on top of that as well.
Yeah.
If you wanna look up in the dictionary the word discipline, they've stuck Zack's mug next to it. It's just like the structure. Everyone who has a physical injury or whatever goes to physio, and they say go home and do your homework. Do your little exercises and that. And majority of people go yeah, and they don't really do it. They'll do it for a couple of times. Zack is just fucking bang, 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 bang. As he said, does not leave a stone unturned, and the discipline, it's just been phenomenal.
When you said visualization, Zack, what kind of visualization are you doing?
I do meditation every night, so just to help with my healings and stuff. I have with my master Chinese guy. I just visualize walking my son again, walking out in the footy field, just doing all the simple things I used to do, and just visualize that bone healing and telling my body that it can heal again.
Yeah, I love that. It's so powerful, and a lot of people, I think, don't understand the power of us giving instructions to the body and how beneficial that can be. There's been studies done on, I was reading, it's probably one of Dr. Joe Dispenza's books around, they had even people grow with bicep strength and size, and they would split them up into 3 groups. So there'd be a group that would obviously go to the gym and think about, working out their bicep. There would be another group that never worked out, never lifted a weight, but every day they'd spend it was like 10 or 20 minutes just visualizing lifting a weight. And then there'd be a control group which would do nothing. And so out of those groups, obviously nothing happened with the control group because they did nothing. Obviously the people that lifted weights, they had the most gains in strength and in size, but it wasn't by much ahead of the people who literally just visualized and didn't lift a weight at all, which is once again the mind, instructing the body. There was another one as well with basketball from the 3-throw line, and they would obviously measure at the start, and then they did the same thing. 3 groups. One would practice every day shooting from the free throw line. One would do nothing, the control group, and the other one wouldn't shoot a basketball, but would just imagine it every day and imagine them going in, right? And then they would test them again at the end of that period. And once again, no change in the control group, significant change in the people that did it, and quite a significant change in the people that never shot a basketball, but just saw it going in and in and in over and over again. So it's so powerful that this visualization.
Can we send Ben Simmons there to... Can we send Ben Simmons from the Philadelphia 76ers?
I don't follow the NBA, so tell us what's going on.
Their team, they're in the playoffs. The playoffs, it's a best of seven series. They're two apiece, the Atlanta Hawks and the 76ers. So Ben Simmons is the Aussie #1 draft pick and much lauded and everything. And yesterday he's shot 4 from 14 free throw
Oh,
attempts.
shit.
So let's get him in.
He
Let's get him in
needs to be
Joker's
doing it,
stead.
yeah.
They were 26 points up, and the other team came back and won by 3 points. Like it was just a
Shit.
train wreck. And the 76ers fans, the Philadelphia fans, are not gentle people. Like social media, are just
Going hard.
woo. Yeah, but there's I read before I went and did the Vipassana retreat, and I think I told Zach about this. There was a prisoner of war. The Japanese caught him. He was in there for like 3 years. He was an American soldier, and every day he was just a hack golfer, a bit like yourself, Hass. And he he
That hurt.
I know so he's obviously in this concentration camp or this prisoner of war camp, sorry. And he said he spent every day playing 36 holes of golf, and he's just in his head, just in his mind, just sitting there. The first tee, just visualized his home course. Okay, and I hit the ball middle of the fairway there, landed on the green, and I think he was like a you know 20 handicapper or something before he went off. And when he came back, obviously he was physically unwell, so he got a hamburger into him and got healthy again. Put some flesh back on the bones, and went and played this round of golf and shot one over.
Yeah, wow.
Just hadn't touched a golf club in 5 years. Was a 20 handicap when he shot one over because of all the visualization that he'd done.
Exactly what we're talking about, isn't it? Because you're like, yeah, you're wiring that into your subconscious because the subconscious mind doesn't know what's real or something that's vividly imagined. And so when we really
Yeah,
commit to a video, and I think it's so powerful as well, Zach, because you're imagining walking with your boy, on the footy field and that kind of thing. Because when we add emotion to it, it becomes like it's like adding steroids, to that visual.
yeah, juices it right up.
Juices it right up. When you had the autoimmune disease, Zach, was that rheumatoid arthritis? It sounds like.
It's a ankylosing spondylitis.
Oh, it's
It's
even more of a tough name.
Yeah, it's in me blood. So whatever. Yeah, I've only just worked out how to say it now. 5 years down the track, it takes a while. It's a pretty long word for me. But yeah, it's just like keeping your blood, and it's really that's another thing. I do like real strict diet, or else you don't know like what happened with my flare up. I could possibly not walk tomorrow if I started eating Maccas or chocolate. So I stick to a strict diet as well because it flares my blood up and then attacks my joints.
Right. And
So
how
it's
long
all
had you
about
had that?
prevention.
When were you diagnosed?
When I was 21, I was diagnosed. I'm 26 now.
Yep.
So I had to stop all sport, and then a major flare up came out of nowhere, and just my whole legs just swelled and my feet, and I didn't know what was happening to my body. It was like 1,000 bees stung my legs, and it was just getting worse and worse. Yeah, and then I ended up into Myndfit when I got control of most of that, and then just trying to walk
So
again
you
because I
came in
couldn't
to
even
see me on
stand.
the 18th of the 6th, 2019. So
That's
halfway through,
that's
halfway through
literally 2 years ago
2019.
today.
Yeah. Hey,
It's
happy anniversary! How freaky is that?
meant to be.
That's hilarious.
So,
Yeah.
so
So
what led you
Zach,
to sorry, Nick, but Zach, what led you to come into Mindfit? Obviously, you'd have this, having this issue with the autoimmune disease, and obviously, was it just getting on top of you mentally, having to stop sport and that kind of thing?
Yeah, it was really tearing me apart a bit because I was so attached to like I should be playing. Like I'm only 21. Like I'm fit as why is this happening to me kind of thing. Like why me? Like I do all the right things and like kind of just kept going down and down. And then the pain on top of that every day was just getting too much. And then Dad does myotherapy next door, or Nick was at the back when he was in his old office, and he booked me in because he seen me just kind of go down mentally. So it's a lot for a young bloke to have.
Yeah.
So just went and did the work with Nick, and then the rest is history.
How'd you go with
what
your old man just said, "Oh, I've booked you in with this guy. You're going." How was that? Were you receptive and open to that?
At the start, I'm like, what do you mean? Because previous in my life, my mum and dad split up, and I've seen psychologists and all this stuff, and that just didn't resonate with me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like they'll tell me what to do, and it was just like, it just didn't work. And then I could really relate with Nick because he's gone through it all, and he just gives you the tools to work on yourself, like not just telling you how to feel. You have to work on how to make yourself feel good. So there's a massive difference. And I was a bit kind of iffy at the start because I thought it was a whole psychologist thing, go through the same road. That didn't work. And then, I just started to really enjoy it and try to do the work the best I could through the pain and stuff. And then when I could get on top of the pain, I could really concentrate on my mental health a bit more. And so
that's awesome.
I think it really resonated with me because at 21, obviously was in the army and blew my knee out, and then all the mental health issues. Yeah, because the physical trauma is on one level, but I think we've spoken about it before, that the underlying emotional trauma of that loss, that grief of I can't do what I was doing, I can't do what I was doing, and then at 21, our brains aren't fully developed for us blokes, and there's an emotional intelligence isn't developed either. So we're using so many distortions. I did it myself and got myself in a really bad headspace, obviously. And Zack, as soon as he walked in, I was like, oh, ding, 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 there's all these distortions. And that first session, I remember him sitting there just barely said a word. Like his dad came in with him and it was just so meek, so quiet, and I'm just like, oh fuck, how am I going to work with this bloke? He's giving me donuts. I'm going to have to drag all this shit out of him. And then a couple of sessions into it, I'm like, how do I shut this bloke up? It's just which is a great sign. He really took to it like a duck to water. And I think the visual aspect of it really sort of helped Zack, and he could see things. I remember drawing mountain peaks and what did we call you one day?
Frodo.
And that's it. Frodo one day. So yeah, it was just just guiding him along, and it was just he got back into a really healthy state of mind, partly because of the work that with the tools and everything, but really his underlying nature kicked in, and I think he was just such a natural at all of this stuff. It just resonated with him. So yeah, I mean, just with every client, this as well, has just to stand back in admiration and just ultimate respect for what people can achieve when they put their minds to it. So.
Would you say you've always been disciplined, Zack? Even if you think about footy and other things in your life before, going to see Nick?
Yeah, I've always been pretty disciplined, like work, and I was never like take days off or anything. I was always there on time, always, even with footy, I did the work. I was always at training. So I've always had it in me to always do the best or get the best out of what I can of myself.
Where does that come from, you think? Where'd you learn that?
Not sure.
7-Eleven.
My mum and my dad, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, just always had it. Just, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important.
Not sure.
It's important, like because what you've done is kind of transferred that discipline that went into footy and work and everything, and you've applied that same discipline to working on your mental and emotional health. And it's something really important that especially a lot of guys can sort of take advice in, is like you can start to improve your own happiness and your own mental health if you just apply some of the discipline you have in other areas of your life just to this area of your life as well. I think that's a really important thing because it sounds like you've done that, and that's why you've been able to sort of get through these really tough times in your life by applying that discipline to this particular area.
Yeah.
Zach's also got another affliction that he's a Richmond supporter in the AFL, so he's also got that to deal with, and all the baggage that comes with that. And there's this mediocre player for their team called Dusty Martin, who sort of, you know, works his way around the field a bit,
Gets
I
a kick
suppose.
every now and then.
But yeah. I think there's a bit of dusty haircut going on with Zack at
There
the
is,
moment.
isn't there?
Yeah, it's not
There
bad.
is, and I think yeah, you look at Dusty, and he's a bit of a character. He's got all this stuff going on, you know, the external, but underneath it all, he is pretty soft and gentle, and he's pretty affected by a lot of the media. He's had to work really hard, but he's so disciplined as well. Like he journals every day. He does all his off-field stuff. So it looks like he just strolls out and, you know, gets leather poisoning every game. But he actually does so much, and the discipline is there off the field. And I think that's what we're seeing with Zack is, you know, we don't see it all, but everything he's doing over here is what's creating this over here. So,
Oh, well, we
yeah,
have
it's
we
just,
have a mistake when we see someone like that, like on the field, and go, "Oh, it's just easy for him," and we imagine he just, like, you know,
yeah,
rocks up on the weekend and it's all, you know, just kicks his 4 goals and has 30 touches and that's it. But yeah, we don't see all the times he's by himself doing all this work, whether it's at training or working on himself and all that kind of stuff. And that's the kind of stuff that Zack, it sounds like you're doing now. It's these moments of visualization and these moments of imagining this, you know, future of walking with your boy and all that kind of stuff. It's the stuff that sort of, when we're by ourselves, that we do, that other people then can see the results later on. But there's a lot of work that's gone into it. I was thinking when you were talking earlier, because I've been diagnosed with autoimmune disease as well, like Crohn's disease, and it started.
it's not about you, Huss.
No,
It's not about you today. It's
I'm
about
making
Zach.
it
All right.
about me a little bit, because as
Put
he
the
was.
ego. I've got the autoimmune disease. I've got it too.
Nick,
Hey,
it's like,
Zach's not the
well,
only
I was in
one.
the army and this happened and blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, give me a chance to make it about me. Because what I was going to say is, when we have these physical health issues in our early 20s, it is a very tough thing to deal with mentally, because we kind of feel like we should be invincible at that point, because we've kind of felt physically invincible up until that point, and we see a lot of our friends being the same way. So it's a real shake up for us when we start to have those physical issues, and especially if it starts to stop us doing things that we want to do, you know, be it sport or that kind of thing. Because when we're that age as well, we kind of, our identity is wrapped up, you know, like, I'm Zack and I'm a footy player and, you know, this is what I do. And then all of a sudden that's taken away, and it's kind of like, you know, who am I? Did you have that kind of identity crisis when you had to stop playing footy?
Yeah, a little bit, because I don't know, I was full back in the ones straight out of 18s, because I was kind of like a bit of bigger body, because I was doing gym and everything like that. And then all of a sudden I've lost 20 kilos and not playing footy or could walk, and I'm not the big full back anymore or whatever, strong as an ox. It's just like, Zach's not there anymore. Oh, will you be back in 2 weeks? No, there's a bit more to it than that. It's in my blood, and then trying to explain the story. So yeah, it was a bit hard to see me so strong, and like, I just couldn't function in my head what was going on, because I was so fit and healthy, and then just went whack. Like, life just turned it upside down, and then so
It's these identities.
For a bloke for a bloke at that age to have the capacity to, you know, we're talking about being the bamboo or the oak tree, to be that flexible and to adapt and to evolve, and all of that took letting go. So, you know, a lot of Zach's strength was used, not only his healing recovery, but to let go, and for him to understand at that age that everything is impermanence. That chapter of his life had come to an end, as mine did, you know, with my running and my army career, and that it's you know, I didn't have anyone sort of go, oh, Nick, there's life after this, or Nick, this is what your mind's getting up to, and it's causing a lot of mischief. You've got this imagination, and you're ruminating in the past, and you're off in the future, and, you know, you're getting heavily distorted. I didn't have anyone and do that for me, so, you know, from that perspective, it was so enriching for me to be able to see someone who was so similar to me at that age going through what I went through to be able to stay there and hand him all these tools and resources and to watch him flourish with it. So, you know, I got so much out of working with Zack, not only on that level, but because of what he brought to the table as well. You know, when clients throw themselves into it and surrender to the work and tick all the boxes and that, they get the outcomes that they achieve. You're just like, fucking so happy for you.
The
Just
cheer
rooting
squad
for you
on the
all the
side.
way. Yeah, yeah.
Zach, tell us about when you found out about the cancer, like where were you with the autoimmune disease then? Where were you with your mindset, and kind of what was that experience finding out that you had cancer like?
It was about 12 months off my feet from my flare up, and then I was starting to eliminate the sugars and really getting on top of my diet, water fasting, stuff like that, just to control this flaring up in my body. And then I had a fecal transplant as well on top of that for my gut bacteria, and then kind of got myself back to work, and I worked about 5 months, and then I just had a little lump on my shin, and I thought it was because I got a few cysts from like just balls of fluid from my legs. And I was telling Tessa, it's just like, it doesn't hurt. Like, it's just going to be a cyst again. Like, she said, can you please get checked? And as a male, stubborn, just, it's not hurt me, so I'm going to keep going. And then like 3 months later, she's like, just, can you do it for me? Like, I'm a bit worried about it. And then I'm like, oh, right, whatever, I'll do it. Went to the local, got a CT scan. And then they're kind of looking for me like it's a blood clot. And I'm like, a blood clot? Like, I don't even know what that means because I've been so healthy. Like, does that mean you're chopping off my leg? Like, I didn't know. Like, going through all this stuff. Like, oh, no, we'll just go get an x-ray and just eliminate what, that it's a blood clot. And then, like, when? Like, now. Like, it was just all happening so fast. It was like they were holding some information from me. And then went to the x-ray, and then that was happening. They still had a blunt face. And I'm like, what is it? Is it the blood clot? And then they said, nah, it's starting to look like a tumor, unfortunately. I'm like, you're kidding. Like, what do you mean a tumor? Like, cancer. And like, that's what will get you in to do the blood dye CT, and we'll rule out whether it's cancerous or not. And then my universe just went whack and said, you're going to get a cancerous tumor. Like, I said, it's got to be benign. Like, I've just gone through this massive thing of trying to walk again, and then 5 months down the track, get a cancerous tumor. And then I just remember calling my mum, just breaking down at the front, and then just that flipped my whole world even more upside down again. Like, didn't, like, at 23, like, am I going to die? Like, because they said it was one of the strongest ones that you can get, and you got like 20% chance to live.
Wow.
If we get on top of it now, and then having to go through going to Peter Mac and getting a biopsy because there's 150 different types of sarcomas, and then go to Peter Mac with my family, and then they all breaking down with me, and just like, I was just trying to be so strong for them. Like, I tried not to get upset, and just like, I just called it a lump. I never ever called it cancer because I just don't like that word. Like, it just felt like when anyone says cancer, it's like he's a goner. Like, and that wasn't going to be me. So I just said, it's just a lump in my leg. I'm going to get rid of it, and I'm going to beat it. So just from day dot, just cut sugar and alcohol out for the whole 1.5 years now. And then had 2 weeks, because they said about mightn't be able to have babies again. Do your will, you sign at 23.
Wow.
Like, just all this crazy stuff. Just, you shouldn't be doing at that age. Like, and so me and Tessa tried, and she fell pregnant, and it was just like my drive, just like my shining light in that dark tunnel, just to keep grinding forward. And just like mentally, just watch, because I'm so holistic and like into my natural stuff, to just try and accept to get chemo put into my body was just, it was heartbreaking at the start. But then I just had to look at the end, I'm going to be a father. So I just had to try put that aside, even visualize the chemo being gold light healing my body instead of being negative and thinking it as poison. Just stuff like that, just to keep me sane. And then had surgery and I shrunk the tumor when they said I wouldn't.
Wow.
They said it'll just stop the spread from you dying. And then I killed it 95% and it shrunk it like 3 centimeters. And then they said the chemo did the work, but then at the start they said that it wouldn't.
Yeah.
So I think that's a lot of my visualization and my master's stuff. You don't know because I'm doing so many different things at once. And then they still wanted to take the whole shin bone to have safe margins and my calf cut out. And then, I thought it was just going to be a 3 month, because I've never ever had surgery. So it was just going to be 3 months. Like, yeah, you'll be back on your feet January, like you'll be walking again, kicking the footy. And then, just going through this thing now, like the leg not taking and getting so far forward with my rehab, going to pool every day, helping Nick out at the shop, doing a bit of gym and just trying to do everything I can and then get my setback again because it hasn't taken, get bone from my ankle. And then this is where I'm at now. So getting back on my rehab train and just trying to keep looking forward, just keeping all that behind me.
Yeah, what a journey, mate. That's absolutely unbelievable. How do you feel like you deal with those moments of setback? Because it's like it can be with anything in life, but this is like quite a drastic example. And it's like, you'll be back on your feet by January, and then all of a sudden you obviously get the news at some point there, like, hey, you're not going to be back on your feet by January. We're having trouble with this bone taking. Like, how do you deal with those moments where maybe there's an expectation around where I'm going to be, and then that expectation's kind of been squashed?
I think that's where some of the work with Nick, just don't be attached to a time or whatever. Just concentrate on just what I can control and just try and, like, I do have my days. No one's perfect. Nick knows that. Just try and just do everything I can control. Just if they keep, because I keep putting me off my leg because of reoperating. So can I meditate? Can I walk with Tessa? I bought like this old man scooter because I still wanted to be a part of my family, and like I didn't want to sit on the couch and say, "See ya, have a nice walk." I just wanted to still be human, and so I got a scooter and just did positive things like that, and then I just try to breathe and meditate instead of back then just get angry and build it up. Like I'm just trying to let everything go, and I let Mum or Tessa how I'm feeling, just let it out, because stress and stuff can cause illness as well. So just that's pretty much
there was that you'll be back on your feet in 3 months. That's just a belief that's not a reality. There's no universal law that says Zack will be back on his feet in 3 months. It's ideally what would potentially happen. It was all just potential. And this is the danger in this sort of stuff is people get attached to these potential realities and these desired outcomes, and then when when the reality is different to their expectations, that's when they mentally start crumbling, which then affects their physical work and keeps using it every day and just continuing to let go and surrender, and just that's all about just living in the moment, being present and making decisions and choices and being constructive in his thinking. And I'm glad you brought the old man scooter up, Zach, because that was the story I wanted to share. It sticks out in my mind for you. So, and I think this is an insight into who Zach is and how the community respects him as well. Is like, being around the footy club and that they did a GoFundMe page, and he got nearly 20 grand sort of raised to help him and the family out through that. So he took a bit of that cash and bought himself off Facebook, this old man, a motorized scooter, and he had the fishing. He's a mad fisherman as well. Lives over near Western Port, And so he's hooked the kayak up to the back of the old man's scooter and takes himself down there and sort of finds a way to still get out on the water and to go fishing, feeding, still finds a way to feed his soul. There's all these barriers and obstacles and all these reasons why he couldn't do it, but he stayed out of that destructive I can't mentality and stayed in that healthy, constructive I can mentality and kept finding a way. But he said to me one day he was cruising along in the scooter and we're there have a think about everything that this bloke's experiencing. And he said he's cruising along and his pregnant partner's walking in front of him, his dad's here, and his dog's by his side, and he just looks up to a tree and sees these birds and the sun shining and just burst into tears. And he's like, he goes, "This is living, Barry." It's just like, he had every reason to be miserable and sulky and in a pity party, and he was just crying with contentedness, crying with happiness, and I think that's such a wonderful example of the definition of happiness. Is content, and just he didn't have so much, or so much wasn't going his way, but what he did have was control over how he felt, and just it was just a beautiful story. This is living Barry hooning along on his scooter with tears in his eyes.
I love it. It's just unreal. It's so good. And Nick, you always talk about the easy and the hard path, which is going to be the title of your book whenever you write that. And I think what you were saying, Zach, that the easy thing in the moment is for someone in that situation to just say, "Yeah, I'm just sitting on the couch." And we're going to sit on the couch and just, ruminate and stew on things and not express how we're feeling when we are feeling down to our partner or mum or whatever. And that's easy in the moment. And that becomes so difficult weeks and then months into the future. And the hard thing in the moment is to actually engage. Go, "No, I'm getting a fucking old man scooter. I'm coming out on walks. I'm towing it down my kayak down to the bay." That's the hard thing in the moment. But then you get to experience those moments like this is like whatever, Barry, these moments, because we make the decision that just because of our circumstances, we're still going to engage with life. Whereas when we run into tough circumstances, a lot of the time, the inclination is to disengage from life, which creates more stress and more problems moving forward. So I think it's such a lesson to everyone listening to always engage with life, no matter what the circumstances are presenting you. Because if, Zach, you can do it in this situation, fuck, anyone can do it.
But he's also completely moved away from being a cancer survivor, and it's just another chapter in his book. It's just another stepping stone. It's just another thing. It was just another. It doesn't have the gravity and the heaviness and the weight around it. He's not He hasn't become a cancer survivor advocate or anything. He hasn't. I'm not saying that's a negative thing, but he hasn't bought into that narrative around it, and I think that's helped him. What are your thoughts, Zach? Is that? Would you agree with that?
Yeah. I kind of just thought of it as just a journey, a path. It's just a challenge I've gotten over, and it's not me anymore. So, like,
He didn't identify with it. It's not part of your identity anymore, is it?
No, I never. There's nothing wrong with surviving cancer or anything, but I just didn't want that to be a part of me anymore. Just didn't want to hold on to what was there. Like, I'm going that way.
It's like what we talk about, Nick, identifying as a drug addict or alcoholic, even though you haven't been a drug addict or alcoholic for however many years. It's like, that's something that I went through. It's part of shaped me who I am today, but I'm not going to identify anymore. Because even when I hear the term like, cancer survivor, it's like, but we don't want to just be a survivor. We want to be a thriver. We want to be kicking goals and doing all these amazing things.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. And I think, a version of Zack had cancer, but so if he kept that narrative, I had cancer, there would still be that attachment. There would still be that, energy trail and connection. But it's just a version of Zack had cancer. A version of Zack, had to deal with that sort of stuff. And the only thing that exists is this version of Zack that exists today. And so that's all. This is where his focus is. It's not on the past, or it's not running off into the future. Zack's got such a wonderful capacity to remain present and in the moment now. So yeah,
That's so good.
It's remarkable.
And one thing that is happening now is, as we've said already, your dad, 5 months in. I'd love to know what you've learnt in the last 5 months from being a dad. What are the lessons there?
I've learnt to make most of your sleep. That's one of them.
Get it while you can.
Oh, it's just they're just a ball of love and just happiness, and I don't know why. Just because we're older, we can't be the same. It's just what I've just looking at Hunter, and he's just no judgment. He loves you no matter what, and I think a lot of people need to be like that. Like lots of people, like I'm covered in tattoos. They judge you like a book by the cover. You don't actually know who I am. Like maybe get to know someone before you actually stamp a name on them. Cause like he's just.
It takes too much time and energy to do that, Zach. It's the hard part. It's people don't have time to ask and listen and learn, Zach. They're just
or
so
actually
much
just
to judge and criticize.
Or like a kid, I think just assume that everyone's awesome instead of assuming everyone's not trustworthy, and then they have to earn my trust. I hate that shit. It's like, nah, just trust everyone. And if someone overtly betrays your trust, then just distance yourself and don't love them anyway. But like
I reckon Zach's. I reckon Zack's so an amazing example of. I remember a quote once that said, "Don't mistake my kindness for weakness," and I think Zack's a beautiful example of how someone so soft and gentle can actually be so strong. But I think Zack's strength is such a non-ego driven strength. It's a grounded strength. It's a vulnerable strength. It's a disciplined strength. It's a loving strength. When most people's strength is an anxiety strength, it's an attached strength. It's a holding on strength. So Zach's love is so unconditional for himself and for his life. Zach loves life in a way that he doesn't have those attachments. He doesn't have an aversion to cancer as such. It's just he understands that it's all part and parcel. The parameters of acceptance are so wide, and things are going to be pleasant and things are going to be unpleasant, but it's all he doesn't have an attachment to the pleasantness and an aversion to the unpleasantness. It's just all the same, basically. I think is that a fair assumption, Zach? Have I put it okay there?
Yeah, got it all from there. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, one of the things, I've got a boy, Zack, who's 2.5 now, and you talk about how free they are, and it does remind us how we should be. And he's through the phase at the minute where he's loving dancing. You said you were going to break into dance earlier, Nick, or song, I should say. But like, so anytime there's any kind of music on, like we could be at like the shops and music comes on and he just starts dancing like this. And then I start dancing with him, and I thought it sort of reminds me. I'm like, how fun's this? Just to fucking dance for no reason, or if people are around, and it's just so free to be able to do that. I think it's one of the reasons why we love kids and dogs so much. It's because kids and dogs kind of don't have all the biases and judgments that us adult humans have. I think we really miss that a lot of the time as adults. So I think kids and dogs kind of reflect that back to us, that part of us that has been squashed.
I think that they're really present. They don't have the mind running off into the past or the future, but kids especially are just living in a constant state of wonderment. They're like, oh my God, what's this? Because it's all so new for them. So that they're not judging it, or they're not having these biases towards it. It's just, this is what it is, and this is what that is. And so they're taking everything at face value, which is a real, it's not a naivety, but it's just all so new, and let's just take it.
It is wonder. It's wonder, isn't it? Yeah. Like Tommy got into it yesterday, I think it was. There was like a box, his empty nappy box, and he just literally like got in the box and just stood in it. And then he was like, wow. I'm like, yeah, it is pretty cool, isn't it? Standing in the box.
But that's that story I've spoken about, the kid in India, who found a red bucket and it had a hole in it, and he didn't get disappointed that it had a hole in it. He found another use for it. They turned it into a drum, and he took it running off to all his friends, and they all were like, "Yeah, there's this cool red bucket." And they played with it, and then they played with it so much that it broke. But then they went, "Yay, the bucket broke, and let's just leave it and go and find something else now." They didn't. They weren't attached to it. And this little kid who found it didn't possess it and go, "This is mine." It was just, yay, it's cool. It's just, it is what it is. And I think, we talk about suffering, and attachment being the source of all suffering. And I think, and there's two types of suffering: there's necessary and unnecessary. Zack's obviously experienced necessary suffering, but where he's helped himself so much, where he's taken responsibility for his own happiness and health, is that he hasn't gotten into that distorted state. He has, we're all human, as he said earlier, and he has his moments of distortion, but now does his mental reps, pulls himself out of it, and keeps moving forward. But the majority of his time isn't spent, distorted. He goes, all right, well, life, the first noble truth, live is to suffer. Yeah, we're all gonna cop it somewhere, somehow, um, and unfortunately, Shane's going through a lot of stuff at the moment as well with life and his partner and her mum and everything. And so Zach's turned himself into a resource. He's been through it and come out the other side of it. He knows what to do and what not to do. So he's now such a gift to so many people as a resource. To sit there in compassion and empathy, but he's leading by example. So it's just ultimate respect for someone who can do that.
So good, so good. Zach, I want to ask you about, you said about you're really kind of on top of your diet and everything now based on everything that you've kind of been through. Tell us about that. Kind of what have you maybe cut out or included in your diet at the minute for your optimal health?
I've cut sugar out from the day I was diagnosed. So that's 14 months, 15 months, not one bit of sugar.
Yep.
So is that fructose as well? Is that fruit and...
Oh, I can have natural sugars, fruit and stuff, just artificial sugars. Just no alcohol. I haven't had any alcohol.
You mean poison is not good for your system?
Yeah, apparently.
Oh, okay, that's weird. Sorry, keep going.
I'm also gluten-free for my stomach, for my autoimmune disease. I'm vegetarian. And yeah, I just don't really have fast food, just all plant-based, basically. Vegan, I have no dairy. Just give my body the best chance to heal. And that's pretty much my diet.
And you said you've done some fasting as well?
Yeah, I've done some water fasting. I went and seen a health guru in Queensland. He's from America and he travels around showing your body can heal itself, and did some water fasting. And it was really weird because I'd have so much pain and couldn't walk, but the days I wasn't eating and just having water, I had no pain.
Right.
So it says that it eats that disease. So if it's not breaking down the food you're consuming every day, it attacks the disease in your body. So I did a few fasts and stuff like that through my autoimmune stuff, and yeah, it got rid of it ate away at some of the stuff that was stored in my gut bacteria. So
nice. And how long would those water fasts be? Like 3 days, something like
that? 2 weeks.
Of water fasting?
Yeah.
Holy shit. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's tough.
That's water only for 2 weeks. My God.
Yeah, you need some mental strength, I tell you.
Yeah, I reckon.
Tessa did it with me as well, which just shows the person she is. And anything I've done, she's done. So she follows the exact same diet.
Tested it all with you.
Yeah, she says, you're not doing it on your own. So everything I've done, because she's a naturopath, so she's resourced a lot of the stuff. She does the exact same diet as me. She meditates with me. She reads books with me. We listen to Joe Dispenza together, and she's just like my shadow. She's my best friend. Just
so good.
Like, you're not doing it alone, because she just wants to see me get through the other side as well.
Yeah, that's
So
just
really
it's so
grateful
good.
to have her.
I'm not crying,
It'd
you're crying.
it'd be no good a week into a water fast and she's like having a big bloody roast, you know, on a Sunday and that kind of that'd be rough.
And I was working, so there'd be a Friday barbecue on the work site,
Oh,
and they're
shit.
cooking it right near my unit, and I'm thinking, you got to be kidding. Like,
Because what happens? Because I've done quite a few fasts as well, and it's interesting how your senses get heightened in that state. And I could like smell a steak from a fucking mile off. I'd be like that. It's like
like a
because I
dog.
think because like if you think when we were hunter gatherers and everything, I suppose the more hungry we are, the longer since we've had food, I think the more our senses would get attuned to the environment to try and help us find food. So
Yeah.
I could smell things a mile off. It was and barbecues are the worst.
Even having, because obviously I'll go from water and not just howling to big chunks of food, because you got to do soups and because your stomach shrinks so much. So I always finished off with like juice fasting, and then for a couple of days, and just having that natural sugar, it's like bang, like you got 12 hours of energy, and like it's just unbelievable how sensitive you get. So
I was kind of doing the reverse of you, Zach. I didn't tell you, Nick, but I gave the carnivore diet a try about a week or two ago, which maybe we can break down. And if it was that's literally just meat or animal products, so no vegetables, no fruit, no dairy, just meat.
That sounds like my normal diet.
But the problem is you can't have, like, I wasn't even having sauces, like just salt, not even pepper or spices, because I've been sort of researching it for the last year or so. But yeah, I didn't. It was too restrictive for me.
How did you feel though? How was the physical?
Well, I kind
physiological
of got
effects?
over. It's like your body has to get used to a radically new diet. So it's kind of like, and plus your body goes from burning carbohydrates to burning fats because there's no carbohydrates at all, obviously. So there's like you have like the flu-y like symptoms. You feel flat for a couple of days, and I kind of got over that hump. And then I didn't feel that much better than I did before I started the diet. So I'm like, yeah, fuck this. I'm making like dinner for Tommy. It's like, you know, toddler food, and I'm like, this looks so good, and I give it to him, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna break the diet.
So imagine if we could all be a bit more um, flexible, I suppose, in our day-to-day lives, and instead of just thinking this is how I should be, this is how I have to, you know, obviously Zach's really disciplined and rigid with his stuff because of what he's experienced. But for those of us that haven't gone through and are dealing with what Zach's dealing with, you know, just being trial and error a bit more. I'm going to try this diet. I'm going to try that, and instead of just staying stuck in our normal or our routine. Like when I did the Vipassana retreat for 10 days, and it was, you know, obviously meat free. It was only two meals a day. I think we had breakfast, and I think we just had a bit of fruit for lunch. That was where I had my 20-minute orange one day.
The infamous orange.
And then and then just meditating from 5 till 9, you know, a.m. till p.m. I came out feeling the cleanest I've ever felt. Some of those meditations, I was imagining a jackhammer, and I was chipping away at the inside of my skull, like I was just imagining this build up of years worth of crap just stuck in my mind and in my head. So some of the meditations I was, you know, cleaning out my head, and I'd open my mind up and just flush everything out, and you know, I'd open it up and just, it was like a spring clean, I suppose. And I came out just so clean. That's the only word I could use to describe it. It was
Well, that's kind of
stunning.
like
But I'm thinking about
it's a
Zach's
fast for your mind, though, isn't it? Because it's like if Zach's doing a water fast, then he's not taking in any food, and so it's kind of a clean out. So you're not really, there's not much
yeah,
stimulus for your mind, so it's a real detox of your mind doing a Vipassana.
yeah. You're not speaking to anyone, you're not reading, you're not writing, you're not listening to music, you're not watching TV, you're not even looking at another human.
So the information like
You just
coming
gotta,
in through the senses is
yeah.
like 2% of what it would normally be.
Yeah, so the stimulus has gone from 98% external that you're aware of to probably 98 internal stimulus. It's just all your thoughts and your feelings. It's just all these sensations, and you're just spending, basically 24/7 in your own head. You suddenly get a good feel for what state that space is in, and you're like, oh, this is a bit untidy. I've got to do some housework. Get the broom out and start sweeping and cleaning it out. And after 10 days, you're like, that's better. And then you go back into reality, and it's just all starts getting smashed again by all this external stimulus. And you're like, no, but I've just spent 10
I've
days
just got to clean in
cleaning it
here,
all
for
up.
God's sake.
It's like someone walking through with muddy boots on. You're like, come on, man, really? It's it's you're right, Naz. It's a fast for the mind. It gives the mind time just to cleanse and get healthier. So, but I was thinking of the retreat, and if Zach ends up going to do a Vipassana retreat, like the discipline it takes to do that is quite high. So, but I'm just sitting there, I think Zach would be like, oh, this is kind of boring. It's just very testing. This isn't really a trial. Can I do this more? Can you throw something
We'll
else at
ramp
me
this
here?
up a bit.
Okay, have you got a spiky bed I can sit on
It's
instead,
like, oh, I've
or
been training
have
for
you
this
got a
for
bed of
years.
nails? Have you got a bed of nails I can meditate on?
I like what you're saying, Nick, about like the trial and error for yourself, because I think it's really important, because we can get a bit attached. Like I tried the carnivore diet because I just love doing shit and seeing how I feel, like different stuff. But I'm not attached to it. When it's like I get attached to it, then I'll stay. Whether it's a diet or something else, I kind of identify with it and stay doing it without being objective about how I feel about it. Because
I have to do this.
that's right. Yeah. Because like everyone's different, and different, diets and things. There's some commonalities, but different diets will work for different people because we're all different kind of biochemically. Things like cutting out sugar is something that pretty much everyone will benefit from. But whether it's a diet, or even whether it's the people that we're hanging around, or whether it's our job, we should always be paying attention to, whether it's adding to our energy or kind of taking away from our energy. And, that's why, something like this, like chatting on the podcast today, I feel lots of energy, and I'll feel great and inspired all day talking to Zack. But then I might, let's say I go catch up with someone at a cafe, and there's gossip and it brings my energy down. Then I'm like, that's something I'm going to limit doing. Like because that's part of our diet as well, the people that we're around. And I think it's really important that we pay attention to our internal subjective experience.
Well, it's the nutrition for the mind and the body. But if you spend 24/7 talking to Zach, that energy would start to reduce, because everything in moderation. So if you and Zach spent a week together, the energy you're experiencing now would be much different at the end of the week, because you'd be like, yes, I know. Yes, you've come through your shit. Good on you, mate. Good job. Yes, aren't you amazing? All right. Yes, you've got tattoos. I've seen them all. Yes, that's right. He's got both his legs done. He's got tattoo sleeves on his legs, and so they had to slice his leg open to rip this bone out. And you tell the story, Zach. What did the doctors tell him?
Oh, there's just explaining about the procedure and where they're cutting and stuff like that, and what through the tattoos. And they're like, yeah, don't worry, we have plastic surgeons. We'll sew them back. And it was a 12-hour surgery, and they actually really enjoyed matching up the pictures and everything. They said it's just not plain skin. They've actually, and I had a good look, and they actually have done it perfectly. So
oh, really?
I was happy with that waking up. I wasn't too worried about the chin or anything. I was looking at the tat.
I can just imagine they're lining it up like it's a game.
Yeah, it's a bit of a guide for them. Maybe they're going to start, going, oh, there's something in this. Maybe every person that we open up, we should do a tattoo on them first, and then we can, open them up on the tattoos. That gives us a frame of reference to put it back together.
Yeah.
Great. Well, Zack, what does the future hold, mate? When we think about maybe the short-term future and moving forward, like what's on the cards for you? What are you focusing on?
Hopefully get back walking. and I'm doing a course for mental health and hypnotherapy,
Awesome.
and just see where it goes from there. Whether I can hop into Myndfit or just feel like with my journey, it's happened for a reason. I just feel like I need to help people. Like it'd be silly to go through all this stuff and be able to pull yourself out and go to the other side and become like shred the old Zack off, the old snake skin, and just be this beautiful person. I just feel like if people were struggling or have some kind of physical or mental challenge, that I could speak with them and just really switch their thinking, and like I can do it, you can do it. We're all human. I'm not a Superman. Like if you can do it and you can get through, and maybe if I can change a few lives, and yeah, hopefully marry Tessa as well and get back work and get some money back in the bank because she deserves it. So that's some goals for me.
That's awesome, mate. And yeah, I think the
I
learning
said to
piece
I
is
said
so
to Zach
important.
when we started, what he was just referring to there is I said, I'm not special. I've just been through life events and experiences and come out the other side a more learned person, but I'm still ignorant, still incompetent, still mediocre to some degree. So, I love what Zach said there. We're not supermen. We're not just because Haas went from being drug addict and big time cellmates in prison to helping people. It doesn't mean that we're better than anybody else. I read this quote the other day, and I'd love to. Probably a good thing to end on. And it said, "Nobody is superior, nobody is inferior, but nobody is equal either. People are simply unique, incomparable. You are you, I am I."
Beautiful.
That's a bit of Osho to finish the podcast today.
Beautiful. Zack, I am so excited and happy that I got to meet you today and hear about your story. And I can't wait to hear about your progress and everything you're going to do in the future. When it comes to giving back and helping people based on what you've been through, there's nobody better to be stepping into that field and helping people, mate. So I honor you and your journey and wish you nothing but the best for the future.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I've loved chatting with you. It's really got me kick-started to my day. So yeah.
Awesome, mate. And enjoy being a dad as well. Catch that sleep when you can.
Yeah, I will.
Awesome.
He sneaks into Myndfit and takes a nap on the couch.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Awesome.
Zach, thanks for coming on today, mate. I know it was sort of something that just threw at you the other day, so I appreciate the time that you've given us today. And I love what Has said. I honour you as well and your journey and your family. They've been a big part of this. And I think Tess, we say we're not Supermen, but I think Tess probably wears her undies on the outside of her stockings at times. She sounds, to have that support and that person in your corner. You're in each other's corner, which is a beautiful thing. So, yeah, Has said, what does the future hold? The reality is we don't know, but we're going to set these goals to work towards, and that's the beauty of what you do. So, thanks for coming on, mate, and I can't wait to see you back in here for a bit of mini golf. We have a mini golf putting thing in here. We play 18 holes sometimes, and yeah, we had the score up on the board, and I've taken them off, but Zack was getting better. He hit a few in the water and hit a few off the mat. He sort of gets his burst of energy, a rush of blood, and sends one through the back of the mat. But he's getting better. So coming for a round of 18 holes next week sometime, mate.
Beautiful.
All right, thank you everyone for tuning in. We'll see you all next week. Bye.
Cheers, peace.